Welcome back, gang. Hope you enjoyed the last couple of stories. You know, cougars and aliens and hand jobs, oh my. Just your typical B&S podcast fun. Mystical and otherworldly and a little bit dirty. That's the flag, and I shall continue on waving it. But with season 1 of the show nearly at an end, I wanted to slip in another quick Q&A episode. Just a little one, just slide it in there. You won't even feel it, she cried. Now, remember last summer when I made the call for questions? Anything you wanted? Anything at all? So, in the soon-to-be immortal words of Canadian TV sensation Letterkenny, pitter patter, let's get at her. Time to dig through the box, my friends. The inbox, that is.
God damn it! Who the hell drilled my box?
So, we're just done with phrasing, right? That's not a thing anymore?
The Queen of Cakes. Queen of Cakes. Brooke, I want to know your most memorable meal. When, where, what, and with whom? Was it the location, the food, the company or lack thereof, or a combination that makes it memorable? This is an obligatory food experience question from the chef, so sue me. And from the music nut side of me, specific lyric that was life-changing. Maybe one that hooked you onto Radiohead. You know, I'm a loser. I really was focused on TV and video games and comic books so much more than music. I didn't even get into cool like 70s rock until I was in university. I don't even think I listened to Pink Floyd and Zeppelin until I was 17. That's how lame I was. And it was more the feeling. Like, yeah, of course The Wall had some great lyrics, and of course, like even AC/DC was entertaining in its own way, and Iron Maiden had this like, you know, cryptic, strange stuff happening with Power Slave, and, you know, metal in general was intriguing, and British alt rock at the time, I loved Talk Talk and even Duran Duran and some Bowie and stuff. I liked the sound of it. I liked the way it made me feel. I liked how I felt, where I'd float to when I was trying to go to sleep as a teenager. But I really didn't start dissecting music and lyrics well into my 20s into university. It was just something, I think it was thanks to teachers. I will say that and this is all raw. This is all coming right now, not pre-prepared. I think the first lyric that got to me, this is lame, but the first lyric that got to me was the Beatles. Eleanor Rigby, oh, look at all the lonely people. You know, sits by the fire in the church. Her wedding has been, lives in a dream. There was something about that struck me. I think I just resonated with that. That's why the lyric was powerful, and I would hum it and sing it all the time, because I think as an only child and as kind of an ostracized kid, and one that was the only child and still not the favorite with his parents, I think that I understood loneliness. I really did. And I think that carries through, because you asked about the Radiohead thing, I think that carried through to the first Radiohead lyric of the first Radiohead song that, of course, caught my attention, and that's why I sing it at karaoke in public all the time. Yes, it's lame. Yes, it's overplayed, blah, 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 blah. But in Creep, what the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't belong here. Yeah, there was something about that gave me chills the first time I saw that music video. I don't care if it hurts. I want to have control. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. I want you to notice when I'm not around. You're so fucking yeah, you know the deal, right? It's wanting to matter. I think that from the Beatles lyrics and Eleanor Rigby to Creep and to the songs in between that appealed to me, even like, you know, Talk Talk's like Life's What You Make It and songs like this that just reached into my spirit. The lyrics worked with the music. There were usually like some minor keys or some interesting shifts that just made me feel it more deeply. But they touched upon sadness. They touched upon sadness and isolation and loneliness and wanting to feel a part of something and wondering if you ever will or will again. So yeah, there's that answer. Now, as far as my most memorable meal, when it was 2008 July, where on the Santiago de Compostela, the Camino, the 850-kilometer plus walk across Spain from southern France to the west coast of Spain. I did that in 5 weeks, and yes, that's where, gosh, was it after Burgos or after Lyon? It was a couple of weeks in for sure. It was at least 2.5 to 3 weeks in. With whom? It was a reunion dinner with a pair of Hungarian friends I had made. One was a girl I'd been chasing on the Camino. We were leaving notes for each other and little symbols and stones and stuff and messages at different hostels. We had parted ways after making out in the forest with like a shower of butterflies around us. I wrote a script about it. It was kind of crazy. So we chased each other back and forth, blah, 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 blah. We finally reunited. She was with her friend, this young Hungarian guy. His nickname was Balu. And her name was Yanka, and we had been walking for hours on this crazy hot day along the plains, the mesetas in the middle of Spain. It was getting up to like 45 degrees at peak heat. You go out at 5:30 in the morning and you start walking and you realize, if you're lucky, you can maybe do 5 or 6 hours before the heat gets to you. I think that day we did our 5 or 6 hours, found a little canyon town, went in, grabbed a couple of beers, some cervezas. We had some ice cream. We drank from the cold spring water, met the town locals after they had their siesta. And then, of course, the brave Hungarians said, let's keep going. And I'm like, fuck, no, can't we stay? They're like, no, let's keep walking. Well, you know what? I thought they were idiots and stubborn assholes for saying so. But I'm glad they did. Because that night, a couple of hours later, we came to a place that wasn't on the map, and there was this beautiful, burned out, ceiling gone, roof gone church. It almost looked like a Renaissance era church, but I think it was a church from the early 1700s that had been bombed during like Civil War stuff. And the main walls were still up, except for one of them was open, and the roof was completely gone. But it still had some chambers that were marked off. It had separating pillars and tarps hanging up. And we arrived at this church at around 4:30 in the afternoon, just dying of near heat stroke, and our canteens were empty, and we'd stumbled across this thing on the far side of a path that took us through like very dry woods that we thought were going to light on fire at any moment. And we get to this church, and each of the places that you stay on the Camino, be it a house with the symbol of the shell, the Camino symbol, or be it just like a way station, there's usually someone there to greet you, and they're supposed to take care of you at the house, at the albergue, at the pension, at the tent city, wherever you end up. And we get to the church, and there's this young Italian dude, maybe late 20s, and he'd been taking care of the church as part of his Camino thing. He'd been doing that for a couple of weeks. And there were no other guests. There were only, I think, 8 beds available, and there were just the 3 of us and him. And we together proceeded to make, and it could have been the heat from the day, it could have been the exhaustion, it could have been the thirst. It could have been just the bliss of finding the beauty of this place, this burned out, gorgeous church where pigeons and doves were flying overhead, and there were cats kind of peering around corners looking at us, and horses running wild on the mountains in the distance, and no one around for miles. It could have been all those things, but he had this, tapestry hanging on the wall, and this long wooden kind of harvest table straight out of like some Marcello Mastroianni movie or something. And we proceeded to make the most incredible, like a veggie marinara. I put in a nice hint of fresh oregano that we'd found in the hillside, local olive oil, all fresh vegetables from around that we had picked up from a place earlier that day from the last town we were in. The Italian had the pasta, he had basic red sauce, of course, but I said, give it to me. And we added some wine, and I still had a hint of maple syrup. So I gave this hint of sweetness, and we had some manchego and some other cheeses that we shaved nice and fine. And we made this huge pan of incredible pasta and garlic bread that was, again, from fresh from the bakery in the morning, and then crushed the garlic and local butter and olive oil and salt and pepper. And it was so simple, but it was so incredible. The flavors exploded. The company was splendid and filled with laughter and deep stories and tears from each person and their experience on the Camino. There was a bit of romance. There was respect between bros. There was a breathtaking sunset in a hilltop nearby where nobody spoke. And the meal was just second and third helpings to that point of being bloated but fully sated, fully satisfied. Really good local wine that was €5 for a bottle, and it was incredible. Amazing olives, some sweet treats from nearby as well, some cookies, and then we had a bonfire and told stories, and then we slept in these cots, behind these tarps, in this burned out church, in the middle of nowhere, Spain. That was my most memorable meal. Thank you for asking and for reminding me of it.
Oh, is that what you want?
Yup.
Because that's how you get ants.
Yay.
That's all for now, kittens and cats. Hope you enjoyed the raw and random goodness. If you want to fire a question my way for Season 2, drop me a line through my author page on Facebook or ping me on brookeburgess.com. Remember, that's Brooke with an E, because I didn't get quite enough teasing at recess.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Thanks for listening, spread the good word, and I'll be back soon with an original tale, or maybe two, to close out the first season. Peace.